Ah, will you look at that, boys? All right, so I just got back from taking my Z900RS Cafe for a quick blast with the G2 quick throttle. Now, you may be asking yourself, well, why would I need a quicker throttle? I don't feel like I need that. Well, if you like the stock throttle, or even if you wanted to dial things back a little bit in the early rotations of that throttle, G2 Ergonomics has a solution for you. But whichever one you go with, there's a couple of benefits. One big one is that it eliminates a lot of that side-to-side slop that the factory throttle has. The aluminum throttle with that Durlin bushing that comes with it, God, it just makes it so silky smooth and absolutely hardly any side to side. Just enough play to keep it loose and free, but no more than that. Absolutely, definitely worth it. Plus, it gives you an opportunity to upgrade the grips, which I went ahead and did with this. But that's beside the point. Let's talk about what it's like to ride this bike with a G2 quick throttle. Okay, guys, so a few specs on the bike. Stock exhaust, stock tune, stock airbox stuff, all of that. The bike is basically still stock, just got her outside of the break-in period, so I can kind of have a little bit of fun with her. But here's the thing, I find a quicker throttle to be more comfortable just for my own personal taste. But again, if you like the stock throttle, or if you like a throttle that is maybe a little bit softer for about the first third of a turn, G2's got you covered. But one of the key things though, just as I was demonstrating earlier, is that side-to-side slop that's eliminated with the G2 throttle and that little Durlin bushing that comes along with it. That actually, it builds a little bit more of a sense of, I don't know, control in a way. And it's not like that throttle moving back and forth like a shake weight. It freaked me out or anything, but it was definitely something I would notice from time to time. Obviously, that's all gone now. So what about the quickness of the throttle? Well, I can tell you this, it's about 10% more aggressive. In other words, you get about 10% more throttle opening per twist of the wrist. To me and to my brain and how I'm wired, it's a lot more intuitive to how the bike should ride naturally. So in a way, it's almost correcting a bit of a fault with the bike. Now, I know what some of you guys are gonna say. Well, what about the snatchiness of the throttle? Well, the thing is that the choppiness, if you will, of the throttle, or at least the deceleration fuel cutoff, cut, if you will, stuff like that really doesn't bother me personally, because I come from a background of bikes that have real abrupt throttles already. So this thing is practically smooth by comparison. But for you guys that may be more sensitive to that, this type of a throttle, maybe it's not necessarily for you. But again, G2 does make a stock throttle and what they call a tamer that will make that initial turn of the wrist a little bit, well, more tame. And so that might be a direction you would want to go into. Keeping in mind, you're still going to be rolling through half throttle at about the same spot. It's just the first a little bit of throttle pull that you have, a little bit of that twist is going to be a little bit mitigated. But getting back to what's it like to ride with that 10% throttle, guys, it's the way it should have come from the factory. Funny thing with me in these quick throttles, I always tend to err on the side of wanting a quicker throttle. A lot of it is ergonomics though, guys. Let me explain to you. Riding down the highway, for example, maintaining normal highway cruising speeds between 90 and 100 miles an hour, your fingers and your hands aren't really twisted, and you don't have to adjust your hand to get a more natural feel on that throttle. I typically cover the top of the brake lever with my index finger, and with this throttle, I can maintain, again, a normal cruising speed without really my finger ever moving so much. In other words, I don't feel like I'm making any real adjustments. It's just a slight turn of the wrist. The other thing, and this is the fun part about the throttle, if you guys have one of these Z900RSs or RS Cafes, or you're interested in one of the things that you'll find with your searching through the interwebs for videos or articles or whatever is just how playful these bikes are. They've got a unique quality that they just want to go out and have fun. It's like you've got a two-wheel Labrador Retriever. and you can use all the throttles seemingly all the time, and that's what makes these such fantastic street bikes. Well, turn that up a notch with a quicker throttle, and it just makes it even that much more playful. So again, it adds really all the things that you would want to add to a motorcycle to make it more fun, to make it more lively. And in my impressions, there's nothing that's taken away from it in terms of snatchiness or anything weird like that. I know some of you guys might think, well, a quicker throttle on a bike like that might seem to be a bit intimidating. Guys, I can tell you this, it's not like you're just barely touching the throttle and, doing wheelies down the street. It's not like that. What it does is it basically gets you into your power band without as much of a twist of the wrist. And to me, it helps keep everything in terms of body positioning and wrist positioning more natural and more in a neutral stance. So for me, that's why I like going with these types of throttles. But gotta admit, the fun factor is definitely there. Oh, that reminds me, the other cool thing about this type of a throttle, for me anyway, is exiting corners. When you apex corners, rolling into the throttle, you don't have to put as much movement into the throttle to achieve, say, half throttle or 3/4 throttle, again, as you're arcing that apex. It makes things a little bit more comfortable, and in that respect, it feels to me like I have more control over the bike in those scenarios. So for me, win-win all over the place. By the way, this is not a paid endorsement by G2. I paid full price. I'm the guy that does the installs. So yeah, there's nothing like monetary coming from this. I just want to bring to you guys reviews of products that I use on my own bikes, mainly so that if you've got questions, maybe I'm answering something that you might have been curious about. But with that, guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. Post up your comments. Let me know what you think. Do you have one of these quick throttles, or do you have a stock throttle just to get rid of some of that slop? Or did you go with the tamer throttle because you wanted to chill out a little bit of that abruptness going from, chop throttle to throttle again? Love to hear what you've got going on with yours. And with that, that's a wrap. Adios.